Greetings all, and I do welcome you to this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining. As you join the broadcast, please indicate whether you can see and you can also hear me clearly. I would greatly appreciate that. To see and hear me on this broadcast as I speak to a very critical matter. As is usually the case, I would give those voices, I would say, time to speak, to express themselves, and to say all they would have to say. And then, of course, as usual, the dust settles. Thereafter, I would speak. The reason I do that is because I don't expect to be, or intend to be, an echo, or an unnecessary echo to anyone. As one who represents the people's movement, a group of Guyanese scattered all across the world who understand their responsibility in dealing with those who are considered elected officials, and in many cases the majority of them are selected officials. Thank you for the feedback. The Argyle Agreement is what I'm here to speak to, because I'm not short or lacking rage and not disappointment, but disdain further for Irfan Ali and Aubrey Norton and anyone else who would seek to say that they are in agreement with this garbage. I am sitting here, for days I would have been considering, before I sit here, what is wrong with Guyana? What has gone wrong with those who call leaders of this country in terms of politics? That's why I always speak to good governance. You cannot have peace in a country. You cannot have rest and quiet in a country. You can never enjoy a country if it's poorly governed. That is why so many Guyanese are troubled and concerned. Pastor Mel, so good to see you, sis. So good to see you, my dear. We are in trouble. I keep saying that to you all. It would have been better for Venezuela maybe to toss some bombs over the Essequibo and blow up a few empty coal fields or something, than for Irfan Ali, and I'll explain further what I'm saying to you, than for Irfan Ali to do that which he's done to Guyana, accompanied by Aubrey Norton's endorsement of it. The Argyle Agreement is this agreement where Irfan traveled to St. Vincent and the Grenadines upon the invitation of Gonzalez, the same man who said that our election, or the group agreed that our election in 2020 would have been reasonably credible. What does that mean? What does reasonably credible mean when it speaks to an electoral process to determine who would be the president and who would be in charge of the country's governance in terms of the weightier side? That's why you have what is called the administration, and then you have what is called the opposition. The PPP is not the government of this country. Guyana is governed by representation, and it's twofold. You have the opposition, or you have the administration, and you have the official leader of the opposition and members thereof. That's how our country is governed politically. And to think that Aubrey Compton Norton, being a political scientist, and you tell me that you're not controlled by some puppet master somewhere else. You are a political scientist. I'm not. And you can agree or suggest that you're in acceptance of Irfan Ali going to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as he did on Thursday past, to speak on this Essequibo issue. I told you Guyanese will get worse, did I not? Okay, well, let me explain to you how it gotten worse. Guyana and Venezuela are before the International Court of Justice. Kindly take note of the term. The International Court of Justice, hereinafter referred to as the ICJ. We are before this court. Under David Granger, when Exxon gave us the ridiculous $18 million signing bonus, and we have got about 2 or more, far more, billion barrels of oil in terms of the reserve, what's in the ground. Exxon gave Guyana 18 million as a bonus. When in one quarter Exxon can say they made 50 billion or whatever billion they would have made, they give to us as a signing bonus for Raphael Trotman and others to sign, or we call patrimony away. We got $18 million. And we weren't told about that. Jagdio and others unearthed this situation. Then of the $18 million, $10 million would have been spent from our Guyanese money to pay lawyers, high-profile attorneys, to take this matter regarding Venezuela to the International Court of Justice. Please remember that. That $10 million initially would have been set aside from our money, $10 million, to pay a few attorneys for this matter to get to the ICJ so that we can have a resolution. Because Maduro has started up again saying that Essequibo, he doesn't respect the 1866, whatever agreement was, he doesn't respect that and all the rest of it. And they said we headed to the International Court of Justice. $10 million. Okay. Thereafter, there was a change in administration where the PPP would have been installed according to the US. And they know just what happened. So there was chaos, and then somebody decided that Irfan, you must go in there and you would serve the best interests of the US. So Pompeo would have instructed Granger, of course he has to go. So here comes Irfan Ali. And Maduro started again. Irfan Ali, controlled by Barajag, because I don't care how you fix it, Irfan Ali is not the leader of the PPP. So this, I don't say this the way people say that Irfan is Jagdio's puppet just to say it. Irfan Ali is the president of this country, paid to be, but he's not the leader of the People's Progressive Party. Just understand that. The People's Progressive Party is led by the General Secretary, who happens to be Bharat Jagdio. He runs the PPP. Irfan is a member of the PPP Civic. He's not the leader of it, which in itself is a tragedy. David Granger is the head of the list for the PNC, and he doesn't sit in Parliament. He doesn't sit in any position of authority in reference to politics, but he controls who goes to Parliament, including Aubrey Norton. He controls Norton, because he can pull Norton's name from the list at any point, and Norton has to leave. That's the situation we're in as a country. And so, Irfan Ali, being controlled by Bharat Jagdio, took the reins of this country. And they continued to pay for us to deal with this matter. That's before the International Court of Justice. The International Court. If two countries have an issue, they go to the International Court of Justice for that court to resolve or rule upon their issue. That's where they litigate. Can you believe that after spending hundreds of millions of Guyana dollars, Maduro started up again, and this time He took it the farthest it's ever been, where there was a referendum in Venezuela on the 3rd of December. The people voted, and they decided the Essequibo has to be annexed. It must be taken by Venezuela or occupied by Venezuela. It will become a state of Venezuela called Guyana Essequibo. Can you all still hear me? I hope that you can. Somebody's trying to call me. Irfan Ali. Mohammed Irfan Ali agreed, after seeing that Venezuela say that Essequibo is theirs. They added it to their map. They said they're going to take it. They said that anybody who's mining and involved in any extractive industry must negotiate with them within 3 months. They began to assemble troops, and Irfan became scared. When Ralph Gonsalves invited Irfan Ali and Maduro to this meeting, Irfan said that this whole matter about Essequibo and the talk about Essequibo, that's not on the table, because the matter is before the ICJ. I'm taking my time with this so I can get to the crux of the matter here. Irfan, who's paid to be president, lives in our state house, enjoys free transportation, free food, free clothing, free telecommunication, free anything he wants. He doesn't have to pay for. When his son wants a new playground, playpen, we have to pay for it. Whatever Irfan has as a hobby, we have to pay for it. And his wife's upkeep. And this fellow who's enjoying this benefit has committed that he is not going to this meeting to talk about anything regarding Essequibo. That's off the table. First of all, Irfan Ali, first of all, young man, how do you, who happens to be a representative of this people, you sitting in the higher seat of representation, understand what your position is? Because it seems if you understand what your position is, you are not the king of Guyana. You are paid to be the president hereof, which makes you a constitutional officer. That's all you are. You represent the people at the apex of authority in this country. You are not King Ali. Although some fool made you think that way. Those little puppies you have around you for little boys who want a chief and boss make you feel important. So here you are with all this sense you're supposed to have. All of this sense you're supposed to have, Irfan. You would agree to go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to talk to Maduro without having a referendum in your own country about what do we say. So Maduro's traveled to St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the weight of Venezuela behind him by referendum. They voted and they said, Essequibo is ours. You up yourself with Todd. Look at the people you have around you. Todd, who is a newbie. Todd knows nothing about foreign relations. Todd, as far as I'm aware, didn't start as any party to the matter before the ICJ. It was Carl Greenidge and a woman called Audrey Waddell, who Granger unceremoniously removed with his silly self. And you, Ali Jaglio, you all reinstated the one as Director General of Ministry of Foreign Affairs because she's about the most, apart from Harper, experience you'll ever have. You have to deal with. You. And of course, based on what I observed in the news, she was removed as well unceremoniously. That woman, Audrey Waddell, and Carl Greenidge were the parties named in this matter before the ICJ. You gone with Todd, Anil Nandalal, as though Anil is an international attorney regarding or knowledgeable in international law. Maduro went to this meeting with the Venezuelans saying that they want 2/3 of our country. You headed to the meeting with what? Did you consult with the population? Did you even have a text voting system in place, electronic voting, to say, okay, Guyanese, I've been invited to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, this Argyle business here, and do you want me to go? No, you boss. You feel that you're so important that you could just get up as usual and take another trip because you're a tourist. You're not a president. You're a tourist alley. You can get up from here and head to another country to speak on such a critical issue that you said you do not have any intention of speaking about this executable conflict. You're not dealing with that. And you got dragged. You got played. And Norton got the face to say, y'all in PNC need to get rid of this man as quickly as you can. It is impossible for me to think that PNC people who should understand Burnham's position better than me, y'all accept this garbage Norton is doing? How can Norton agree to this? So what happened to the $10 million plus US dollars spent to head to the ICJ? What I'm talking money? Why would you spend money to go to an international court and then go to sit before Mr. Mia Motley? Rav Gonzalez, Skerrit, the Trinidadian one who told us, who said that all going to run just now, he Jaglia had a spot. Remember? Raul, I think it is. So, in the room is Irfan, and across the table, Mia who eat Irfan chicken, duck curry or curry duck, whatever it is, sitting across from you. So it's Irfan like a little schoolboy facing this group of people. An inexperienced Todd, ignorant Nandalal, who I heard, you could tell us now because you have to answer the rest of the people. He would have been a part of the wording of this Argyle Agreement. Nandalal would have been involved in that, representing us, as though he's some international lawyer. Why were you in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the first place? Did you not tell your own people, as you call us in Guyana, that you don't have any intention of discussing anything? This matters before the ICJ and that's where it shall remain? In a few days you change your mouth. That's what you say in Guyana. You switch. You have switched. You have changed your utterance, which makes you a very weak man. You took it on yourself, Irfan Ali, to go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to discuss what happens to 2/3 of our country, to discuss as though this matter is not on the table before the ICJ, and only the 3rd of December, just before, the court gave a statement advising y'all that you should be cordial and let this matter proceed. Maduro said he doesn't even respect the ICJ. And Sarah Ann Lynch, Mike Pompeo, and all your handlers can be found today to condemn that rascal. The Caribbean community did not condemn Maduro for saying he doesn't respect the international court. The United Nations, the USA who heads the UN, haven't censored or enforced any form of sanctions on Maduro for saying he would not even recognize the ICJ in terms of having authority. But you tried, Irfan. And you all could tell me that I must be concerned with the US and the UK and their guardians of democracy and interested in democracy. Hold on. Didn't Sarah Ann Lynch tell Irfan that, tell Jack Granger that he must respect the will of the people? Well, the Venezuelans voted that Essequibo is theirs. Why can't you respect the will of the people? Why? Why not? You can feel free to share the broadcast. I hope that it reaches to the people for them to understand that there's Guyanese in here, and I can see from the broadcast that we are here, and we're not stupid people. We are not fools. When did Irfan Ali get the authority constitutionally to just get up and decide that on a territorial dispute, a matter regarding our territory, this is not some internal conflict we have. The map of Guyana can change if Venezuela has their way. And he could just get up and leave to sit with somebody who has a referendum as his weapon, to say that the Venezuelan people want this. That's it. Ali goes, as they say in Guyana, with the two long hands. Nothing. Because that boy doesn't understand, apparently. You don't understand, Irfan Ali, that if you are before a court and a matter... Why couldn't Anil Nandlal tell you that? Because I'm going to comedy with you all when it comes to this matter here about the election petition they all in Apnu FC. Did you all not say that this matter is before, what's her name? Roxanne George, the Chief Justice acting? Didn't you say that if a matter is before the Chief Justice, then there's nothing else to discuss? You can't go anywhere else? That's it? That's what you all hypocrites in the PPP said. But the matter is before the ICJ, but you could head to, and you can head to St. Vincent and Grenadines to have a discussion on a matter that's already before the court? So what's the purpose of the court? What is the purpose of the International Court of Justice if a matter that's before it can just be thrown out the window? And here we go, you head to St. Vincent and Grenadines for some Argyle Agreement. Do you people have any sense? Do you understand how a country is run and governed? How do you take our money? I say again, by now it may be about 20 million US dollars, probably more. You take our money, I know about 10 million US dollars to pay a few attorneys, pay the white boys to represent us before the ICJ, and now you turn around and head to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to have a talk while the matter is still before the court? What happened, Anil? What happened, Anil Nandlal? What has happened to your reasoning and your statement that I'll block this moron called Marcia Ali Haq? Go make another fake report, fake post and return. What has happened to your reasoning? Aubrey Norton, what has gone wrong with your reasoning? What I find interesting is after the helicopter miraculously slammed into a mountain and caught fire, thereafter two men could walk out unscathed. Don't tell me about broken ribs and broken anything, because the other one, Priya sold you all out, because Priya was holding one of them, I think it's Crawford. Here's a hero. A helicopter that flies at 100 or almost 200 miles an hour slams into a mountain, and somebody could just walk out, while five others were burnt to death, burnt and beyond recognition. After that comes the Argyle Agreement, and the very first statement is the parties agree that we will not be hostile to each other. What in the world? When was Guyana ever hostile towards Venezuela? When? How can Anil Nandlal, who's paid to be Attorney General, sit there and accept such a stupid, I call it prepared agreement? Y'all didn't have anything to do with that. You could never tell me that you went to St. Vincent and Grenadines and then you sat there and agreed to this wording. It was prepared for you. And you must have been instructed by somebody that you have to accept this or else. How can you tell me that Guyana agrees to not be hostile? When were we ever hostile towards Venezuela? Did we say that Caracas is ours? Huh? Did we say that we own some part of Venezuela and we're going to take it tomorrow? Did we even say that we're going back to Ancoco Island, which is ours, and put them off? So where was the opening statement that spoke to Venezuela's aggression towards us? Even if you decided that you're going to go there, at least go with some degree of common sense and strength. Chutzpah, nuts like a man. You've gone there to tell me that the very first thing I'm reading as Guyanese is that we agree that we're not going to be hostile and aggressive. When were we ever aggressive? When did we ever demonstrate in the least any form of aggression towards Venezuela? You forgot that your master here, Jaglio, said that it's APNU AFC, that they're the ones who are aggressive towards Venezuelans and don't like Venezuelans, and the PP have no problem with them. So how we now end up in St. Vincent and Grenadines saying that we are not going to be hostile towards y'all? We agree to that. No condemnation of Venezuela. It gets better. Because Irfan sat there and agreed. Todd sat there like a dummy can't talk. And agreed. On our behalf. That's what has me so angry. That they went there to talk as though I agree with this. And Guyanese agree with this. Agreed. And the wording was that the parties there have noted, quote unquote, they have noted Guyana's position that the ICJ is what's going to rule in this matter. They've also noted at the meeting, Rowley, Mr. Mayor Motley, Ralph Gonzalez, Brickenhead Ralph, they all agreed. They all sat there and scared all of y'all. The young boy from Grenada. Young boy, what he knows about international matters? The young prime minister. All y'all sat there across, and your friend is before the school masters now, and said that, I think it's part 9 of that agreement. I think it's chapter 9. That they've noted that Venezuela does not recognize the ICJ. They sat there and took note that Venezuela has said, even at that forum, that they are not going to recognize and respect anything from the ICJ. Now tell me, y'all please, I beg you, help me to understand how could Aubrey Norton say that he agrees for Ali to go there? To talk about what? All y'all did? Let me tell you what it was. Because the part in focus was that Guyana, the CARICOM, Venezuela, we maintain a zone of peace. That's all they wanted. That Maduro would not shoot anything down, or maybe anything else down. That's it. That's all Ali wants, and that's what y'all call victory. That's what the dumbos, the intellectually challenged, the intellectual dwarfs have understood it to mean. That nobody's going to take to shoot missiles and shoot helicopters down, bomb up anybody here, so we're fine. I know y'all, and I know how you think. It's unfortunate for me that I understand how weak Ali's mind is and how inadequate his intellectual abilities are. He cannot reason well. And all they want was for there to be an agreement that Venezuela would not fire any missile or drop any explosive on Guyana. That's all they wanted. That's all they wanted. And while y'all talking about that, another boatload of Venezuelans would have come here after the referendum. And we haven't turned them back. The borders are wide open. Our military in Guyana Defense Force, we have 3,000 to 4,000 soldiers. 5,000 is a stretch. You hear me? The whole army in Guyana is about 3,000 to 5,000. Robeson Ben admitted that there are about 50,000 Venezuelans. On record by the way, registered. Our whole army is 3,000 to 5,000. And our borders are open. Any Venezuelan wants to come across, come by boat, you just show up and have a ball. And all Ali wants, all Jaguar wants, is that they're not going to stop Mohammed from mining gold. They're not going to stop the other one from Essequibo. They're not going to stop all the big gold mining operators. And Diamond, they won't stop them. McDC, who couldn't tame us up. No! Tulsi Prasad. No. Leave them. They won't stop Exxon from extracting oil and having a ball. And y'all think that Maduro will sit back and just let that happen, right? Because what was not written in that agreement, I dare any one of you, including Anil Nandalal, Bara Jagyo, Gail Teixeira, Priya, who can barely reason for herself. But as the Minister of Education, you paid to be that, I dare you to sit before the nation, Priya, and tell our children in school that this agreement here includes this statement, that Venezuela will discard the referendum, will disregard it. Have you heard that? Just respond to me, please. Can y'all respond to me, please, and tell me what those who read it, of course. Do you see any paragraph that spoke to Venezuela disregarding and considering to be null and void the referendum that they held on the 3rd of December? Please talk to me. Because the referendum states that they have to take Essequibo as a state of theirs. Guyana Essequibo, that's the name. Can you tell me, please, whether you were in reading the contents of that agreement that you saw anything where Maduro agreed that the referendum is just nothing anymore, discarded, null and void, forgotten about? Did you see that? Did you all see that? Or did you not see? Did you not see little preschool Apostle Lambert, Apostle Zechariah, good to see you. Did you not see little preschooler Irfan Ali agreeing that in 3 months or so he's going to head to Brazil to report on this matter? So we don't need an ICJ anymore. Well, I want my money back. Guyanese should demand that the 10 plus or $20 million we spent thus far in the International Court of Justice be returned to the Treasury. Put it back. Install ACs in the schools, keep our children cool, fix up our schools, ensure the children are fine, build home for the homeless. Give us our money back. Because you're not going to tell me that you could spend 20 plus million US dollars potentially on this matter and then head to St. Vincent to forget about ICJ. What are you going back for? Do you understand how judges function? So y'all expect that you can come here, go there, have this talk, and then if Venezuela begins to act up again, you head back to the ICJ. Let me tell you how Irfan Ali has done worse for Guyana. Because what the courts have the right to say to you is this: you have, based on this Argyle Agreement, informed the court that you are now in no need of our ruling, no need of our guidance, because you have an out-of-court settlement. That's how sick and stupid our leaders are. And the court can say that you're wasting the court's time, because when the matter is before us, you all don't want us to rule, so you just decide to go to St. Vincent and talk. Then Rav Gonzalez would say that even when his tenure is over, he is still going to be in charge of this whole negotiation process? Really? Man, y'all answer me. Did you see anything in the agreement that spoke to Venezuela discarding or disregarding the results of the referendum? If your answer is no, then it means the referendum still stands. And all that Irfan Ali has is a promise that they wouldn't come and bomb Essequibo. They wouldn't bomb Georgetown. They would not shoot missiles across here. They wouldn't fire missiles here, and he's good with that. So all the friends and family and cronies who have got mining operations and so on will enjoy it. And your political master has won again. Anil Nandalal, paid to be the Attorney General of this country, who is apparently the PPP's guru when it comes to law. Look at the asinine dribble and garbage that you would sit there and allow to happen. Because Todd certainly cannot review anything here present. Todd has no authority to do anything if Nandalal is there. The man told y'all, even at that forum, that he would not recognize or respect anything called the ICJ. And Ali didn't get up and walk out of the meeting. Now that's what you call Burnham power. Because you're all too weak for me. You can't lead me, that's why I tell you that. I'm telling you all the time why they cannot lead me. Burnham would have gotten up and walked out the room the moment that he would not have gone in the first place. But if he decided to go, Lyndon Forbes Sanson Burnham would get up and walk out the moment he saw Maduro saying that he would not respect anything to do with the ICJ. So what am I here for? So now you have a moment where you've captured the attention of leaders from around the Caribbean, where you're showing them, I'm a man here. You're not going to come and tell me you're not going to respect the court before I walk out. Because what Maduro would have said to Irfan Ali indirectly is that you are still going to deal with me and this referendum. That's it, if you don't know. Because Maduro did not commit to anything apart from not bombing Essequibo. As I said, I don't believe in coincidences. So somebody needs to tell me from the PPP why. Why is it this miraculous crash? And up until now I haven't seen the two survivors sitting before the media and speaking to us at a press conference to say what their experience was. I find it interesting that you call them heroes but they can't talk. Where do you find heroes who cannot speak to their experience? And I find it interesting, though I don't believe in coincidences, so it's very, very strange that once the helicopter slammed into the mountain, according to what they said, and they didn't say slow down either. They said that the pilot Charles tried to pull up to gain elevation, and the helicopter slammed into the mountain, burst into flames, and two men walked out. And Priya was posing with one last week. He didn't even spend a day or two or three in the hospital in any emergency area, in intensive care or anything. Miraculous! What a miracle! I find it strange. Debbie said they hospitalized. I saw Priya standing there with one of them saying he's a hero at the funeral. I find it strange that after this chopper went down, and up until now we haven't seen images of the crash site. We haven't seen where this helicopter slammed into anything. A plane or chopper just flew over as quickly as possible and didn't show us anything. So where are the images? I find it very strange that after this incident, here's an agreement that both parties will not be hostile towards one another. And there'll be no force. Look at the terminology. There'll be no force used in dealing with this matter. Why do we have to talk about force used? Can you all tell me that after the helicopter went down, why are we having discussions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that there'll be no force used? Why? Tell me, please. What capability do we have to use any force against Venezuela? When has it ever been on record that Guyana has ever even uttered to Venezuela any threat? When? Aubrey Norton, it's time for you to probably resign. And I know that you're going to hate me, that despise me even more for what I'm saying to you, but I really don't care, because I don't care much about you as a political agent. So maybe as a person, I haven't spoken to you to that extent, but as a political figure, no. Because I cannot understand how you are leading the opposition and you're agreeing to this nonsense. You are agreeing that we would have absolutely no power before the ICJ anymore. You are agreeing with this nonsense that they could go and sit before Ralph Gonsalves, and Gonsalves then becomes almost this leader of this whole situation emeritus. There's no end to his tenure. Who is Ralph Gonsalves? How many people are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for Ralph to have any power to rule over anything? Ralph, Maduro responded to Ralph about my friend. Mia Motley sat across the table from Ali. She's Ali's curry duck. And she sat across the table from Ali with Maduro, right beside Maduro. What political, military, or any other power does Ralph Gonsalves have to talk about any situation of this nature? Maybe Brazil could sit there and Lola can say, I'm in charge of the situation, because Venezuela knows, and that's what stopped them. To access us by land, they have to go into Brazilian territory, and they know that Brazil would deal with them. And I said that when I talked to Jenna that day, that Guyana, instead of hopping around the place playing the fool and playing song and waving flag, head to Brazil. Deal with Brazil. If you can have an agreement with Brazil, as Burma would have done, that they protect us in the situation, Venezuela can't come here. But no, Ali hopping around the place playing suddenly waving flags is a threat to Venezuela. Standing in the schoolyard or courtyard and making shape of the map makes a statement to Venezuela. Wearing some band in your hand, a leather bracelet that says Guyana is ours and includes Venezuela, executable, it makes sense to you. So, little times I cried that when I heard about the crash, something was too fishy. My little knowledge about flying an aircraft and my first thought about foggy area is to turn away from that area. That's basic. If you can't see, and of course you can fly with instruments. And what I do know is helicopters, but the Bell is, that one is an old, I heard an old one they got from somebody's friend. A brother. He bought it for them. And that's the PVP, by the way. These things are equipped with sensors and all the rest of it, radar to tell you how far you fly, and they have warning systems. If you fly too low, it will give you a warning and all that. Sadly, none of those things would have worked. That's why I wanted the co-pilot to talk. So when Maduro was headed here by land, the Brazilians went, yes, you saw it, and said, no, not here. You're not crossing this point. What did big bad Maduro do? Stop. That's what he did. He didn't move. because he knows what the result would be. Lola sent, the Brazilian leader sent one of his agents. He did not even show up to the meeting, because that's how disinterested he is, since they're all friends and they know that Irfan Ali is incapable intellectually of dealing with this matter. I'm not going to sit here to give you the impression that Irfan Ali is remotely qualified to lead this country, because he's not. Jagdeo went to the UN when Irfan Ali could not pronounce order reparative. When he was reparative justice, Jagdeo was there, his handler was there. When Irfan Ali sat in New York and lied in the most reckless, treasonous manner to say that there were never extrajudicial killings in Guyana, Jagdeo was there. Suddenly, when Irfan has to go to deal with a matter of this magnitude, speaking to 2/3 of our country potentially being taken from us, Jagdeo was nowhere in the room. What does that tell y'all about Jagdeo's interest? When they were dealing with this in Venezuela, Jagdeo and Irfan were in Dubai. I told you, talking about weather, about climate, because the climate is more important than Essequibo. I'll talk about this some more. I would like to sit with Jinan and hear his view on this, because he's been dealing with Venezuelans quite a bit, and I would like to hear his view. It's a disgrace. It is treasonous. Norton, you and Ali should go to jail. Jagdeo should be made to stand before every Guyanese and tell us what's more important to him, because 2/3 of your country is about to be gone, and is gone according to Venezuelan referendum, and Jagdeo didn't see the time to go to sit there with his intelligent self. Remember, he's the smartest cat in Guyana, so why didn't you go there to sit to tell Maduro where to get off? Huh? Irfan Ali, as much as I despise you politically, I do not despise you as an individual who, like a normal man to man talk, because I never dealt with the person to deal with, and I think that if outside of politics I could talk to you on a normal basis. So I'm talking to you on that, I'm speaking to you on that premise tonight, at this juncture here. Listen to me. I say to you again, this man Bar Jagdeo is clearly intending to destroy anything you call legacy as a president. He has made you the worst in Guyana. I don't believe that's what you really want to do. Because you don't have to go to high school to reason something else so simple. If judges are already deliberating on this matter, there's nothing else for us to talk about. You started on the right foot. Suddenly you went there and would sit in that room, realizing how many people are really against you as a people. I told you, Mia Motley, Rowley from Trinidad, these people, Skerrit, all of them don't like Guyanese. They're xenophobic. That has been, have you forgotten how Guyanese were treated for decades? What makes you think these leaders of the Caribbean couldn't sit to say, the matter is before the ICJ and it shall remain there, there's nothing else to talk about? Why they couldn't do that? And look at the weakling in Norton. Every day something like this happens in Norton, you prove to all Guyanese how weak you are. Maybe just a few friends will accept you. Maybe you hang with buddies. How can you betray all of Guyana like this, Aubrey Norton? So let's just presume. So Elton is asking, Apostle, what's your take on the fact no Caribbean or CARICOM region has called out Venezuela? Exactly. I think the Bahamas stood their ground and said no. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Bahamas may be among the one who said nah, or two said no. And that made these people look so stupid. You have Mayor Motley and this clown. Bahamas and Belize, exactly. They made these two people look very stupid. Those two nations. Look at these people said, listen, Guyana has a right to stand. Maduro need to stop. Ali, you would have signed away 50,000 acres of our land. So apart from Essequibo, you've signed away 50,000 to Mia and her crew from Barbados. They could come and do farming here. And that same woman sat across the table from you on Maduro's side and never condemned Maduro for what he wants to do with Essequibo. Huh? You, Finale, instead of giving 50,000 acres to some Guyanese, some community, so you all go farm here, you give Barbados 50,000 acres. Sign away our land. And now Mia sat across from you. And you agreed. You agreed. Let me close with this. Imagine being back in school days where there's a bully in school. There's a bully. And he's beating up somebody. They brought to the principal. The child who's being beaten every day goes to the principal. The principal calls him to the office and says, the two of you have to agree that you will not be aggressive towards each other. And the two of you have to agree that you're not going to use force on one another. The two of you have to agree that if you have any problem in the future, you come to me. The two of you have to agree that you're going to take counseling for anger management. That's what happened here. That's what happened here. Imagine that. A husband is beating his wife and they go to court. The judge says to the wife, you have to agree that you're not going to use force against this man. And there's Irfan sitting there and blind, ignorant, insensitive and colossal in their stupidity are some of the supporters who say that Irfan did well. You need to go to jail. You need to go, you must be tried for treason and you should be shot by a firing squad. I believe that. Because this man, Irfan Ali, instructed by whoever it was, has taken the matter or the weight of power from the ICJ and put it in the lap of Maduro. Because Maduro has said to you, since you agreed, that he's not going to recognize anything called ICJ. He's just not going to throw bombs at you. And he doesn't need to, because he already has 50,000 and more of his people here. When you only have 5,000 or 4,000 in the army. So what are you going to do? How can you get rid of them if you decide to act up tomorrow? Guyanese, as I leave you, please pay attention to this reality. If, according to Robeson Ben, who's paid to be the Minister of Home Affairs, if according to his figures of there being about 50,000 or even 20,000 Venezuelans in this country, if those figures are accurate, which I know they're not, they're far more. If 10,000 Venezuelans, if 1/5 of 50,000 decides that they are going out to the street, if 10,000 Venezuelans decide that they are going out tomorrow, you hear me? We do not have, if the whole army comes together in Guyana, they are outnumbered. If 10,000 Venezuelans go out to say they're going to do something in this country, our army is outnumbered 2 to 1. Think about that for a minute. If Maduro gives the Venezuelans here, they are Venezuelan nationals, if Maduro gives them an instruction tonight that tomorrow at the rising of the sun you get up and you take over this country, if 30,000 of them step out, the army is outnumbered 10 to 1. Have you all thought about that? Have you? Have you considered that? That Maduro already has in this country far more than enough to deal with you internally? Do consider that. But I can tell you this, that all that the PPP big boys are interested in is that those who own gold claims, because some of them do own gold claims, and they have their family's name signed on those claims and blocks. Those who own the blocks of gold and have massive excavators to come and take our gold and diamond out of the ground, those who have oil blocks in other people's names, those same PPP agents, these people, the only interest that they have is that Maduro would not stop them at this time from extracting gold, timber, diamond, and oil. That's all they want. They didn't want Maduro to have anything called a cancellation of this referendum. No. All they want is for their operations to continue unhindered. I do thank you for your time, and I reiterate the call for Norton to quit. Resign. You have failed even your PNC people. Resign, Norton. Leave. For you to agree to this is treasonous. There's nothing to talk about. There is nothing to talk about if we're before a court. That's what they told Granger. You forgot? I most likely shall, Melanie. Because if I were leading Guyana, Maduro would never see my face in any meeting if he before the court. Never. There's nothing to talk about. And my policy is simple. Many of you are afraid, but if you're unprepared to die, then you're unprepared to live. That's why I function. I don't need an army to take care of Maduro. 2 or 3 Guyanese could go right there and deal with him. There is nothing for us to talk about. That's what y'all told the people when it comes to election petition for APNOA. See, we're not talking about anything. That's what y'all told them, PPP. The judges already ruled. So what happened now? If I were leading this country, I'll talk to China, I'll talk to Brazil, and inform them, of course, or remind them, listen, your interest is here. You have economic interest here. So, deal with this fella. And I would honestly tell you that I do not need an army to deal with Maduro. If I were leading this country, Maduro would never be a problem again. That's why you train soldiers in certain ways. That's why they go to Sandhurst and those places to be trained to do certain things. They don't need an army to do. I would invest in human capability where 1 or 2 men or women can eliminate Guyana's threat. And every time one of them rises up in Venice, we have to stop by as quick as theirs, eliminate Guyana's threat until one goes in to talk the right language. And that's a military decision. Thank you for your time. And please do well. Until I speak with you again. Bye-bye.